So over the years, of course, pre and post awakening, there is something that came to my mind. Actually, I realized something. I realized that a lot of these narcissists, the battles that we're fighting, ladies and gentlemen, number one, of course, you guys at this time, you know that they are spiritual battles. This is spiritual warfare. But even if you don't want to look at it in a spiritual way, even in a humane or personal way, you can still come to that conclusion that there is some individuals who are extremely abnormal or dysfunctional or evil, or there's so many words you can use when you're trying to describe narcissism. I've also continued to realize that a lot of narcissists actually, they are not aware of this behavior. Now, post-awakening, of course, I was able to confirm this. I would see this pre-awakening before I knew anything about narcissism and everything. But post-awakening, I was able now to put a label, because now I could confirm that, okay, so those particular individuals that I've been dealing with over the years, I was able to confirm that they actually were narcissists this entire time. And then I got another question as well in my mind. Were they aware that they're narcissists? Ladies and gentlemen, you might have a similar question. I've heard about this thing so many times. I've heard about this comment before awakening, post-awakening. I've had this question even sometime in my sessions, where people ask themselves the question, why does my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, why do they behave in this kind of horrible, evil way? Now, having awakened from a dysfunctional family unit, I was able to identify a lot of narcissistic patterns in family members or parents, of course, narcissistic parent as well, and a lot of friends around me back in the days, including relationship partners as well. So I was able to see these people for who they really are. Because you see, the thing is, post-awakening, you are not allowed to see the things in the way that you want them to be. You will really see the things for what they really are. And you really understand the problem. You will know where it came from, where it started. You get a lot of revelation, of course, and eventually you'll be able to walk away from very horrible situations and as well protect yourself as time goes by. The thing I want to emphasize in this video, ladies and gentlemen, there is a million, I don't know if billion or million narcissists around the world who are not aware of what they are doing, you know. How do you know that this person is not aware? I may help you guys to give you some of the signs that you will see that this particular individual that you're dealing with, of course, they are narcissists, but then there's also a very big chance that they are not aware of this so-called dysfunction and pattern, whatever they're behaving, or whichever way they're behaving. Now, those individuals, you will see them when they do something, for example, very, very horrible, okay? Something that is not acceptable, something very evil, something extremely, extremely unbelievable and unexplainable. They will do something, and then you will confront them. For example, you may confront that individual and you may say, okay, why have you done something like that? Why did you do this, or why did you do that? Okay, you may sometimes ask these kind of questions. And sometimes they may even actually tend to even apologize for some of the things that they have done to you. They may even sometimes, when you ask them, they may apologize sometimes. But you're going to realize that that individual, no matter the color of apology, the type of apology they give you, they are going to run back and do the similar thing. So, for example, you've blamed them for something they have said to you or they have done to you. For example, in a partnership or whatever, friendship. You will question them. Of course, there will be the rage because they don't want to be questioned. Those individuals, they don't want to take accountability for all the things that they do. And then, of course, they may say, okay, so I'm sorry, this shouldn't have happened, I shouldn't have said this. Or maybe I shouldn't have done that. But of course, over time, even sometime within seconds or maybe minutes or maybe even days, they are going to come back and do that similar pattern. That similar thing that they did to you that you complained about, they are going to actually repeat that pattern. And now you're going to realize that these individuals, they are doing something that they do not have control of. So they do not have control of their actions and the things that they do. I've told you guys this whole thing is spiritual. These individuals, They are evil. Like I've said, most of them are not even aware. They have actually decided to take a route that has led them very deep into abusive patterns, destructive patterns, and dysfunctional patterns, and they can actually not get out of this kind of cycle. So it's a repeated cycle. You will usually see something happening over and over again, okay? No matter how much you forgive, of course, they have done something to you and you've forgiven them, you give them a second chance, you give them a third chance, that thing is going to actually recur. So it's a recurring pattern, and they cannot actually get out of this pattern, you know? It will take divine intervention to break that kind of pattern out of the narcissist. It's going to be very difficult. I personally do not know any narcissist that has actually been able to successfully break out of those patterns. They have managed it, of course, the ones who have gone to therapy, the ones who have kind of gotten some kind of help somewhere, but it is actually almost impossible. I do not know any successful. I would be very interested to hear a successful story of a narcissist that has been completely healed. I know the ones that have gotten some kind of help and have actually been able to manage that narcissism, but I do not know anybody that has actually broken out completely out of this cycle of narcissism. I don't know anyone like that. Okay, if there's somebody you know, share with us in the comment section below. I would be very pleased to hear that. But the narcissist that you're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen, I will actually tell you this. Most of the times, these are the things I'm not even comfortable saying. Sometimes you're dealing with parents, you're dealing with the people that you love, the people that are close to you, that you really care about. But I can guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, from experience, I will tell you that the narcissists, many of them, I could say maybe even sometimes 90%. If it's 100 narcissists, you can find that 90 of them actually, they're not aware that they're narcissists. And that is one of the things that has also shocked me very hard, because sometimes I've been dealing with people that I care about, for example, family members, of course, and other people like friends, you know, close friends, you know, sometimes even relatives. I have come to that realization, ladies and gentlemen, the only way how we usually protect ourselves is by realizing there is something wrong with particular individuals, and we are able to leave, get away from these individuals as far away as we can, to protect ourselves. And sometimes we have to do that forcefully, because we're dealing with somebody who is continuously inflicting a certain degree of pain into our lives. So sometimes we extract ourselves out of these situations without having to tell them point blank of who they are, okay? Because you guys already know definitely that a narcissist is a person who doesn't want to hear you telling them that they're narcissists, okay? This is something they don't want to hear. So because these are, I've told you over and over again in my videos, this thing is demonic. So these spirits do not want to be called out, okay? You do not call out a narcissist. You do not call out a sociopath. You do not call out a psychopath, okay? It's like trying to help them identify what the problem is. And they don't want to hear this, okay? It doesn't matter who they are. They don't want to hear this. They are not, many of them, aware. Even the ones that are aware of their narcissism and everything, the ones that are aware, self-aware, like they so-called them self-aware, they may be aware of this narcissism and everything, but they do not know how can they get out of this cycle and how can they get out of this pattern, okay? So they realize that actually they are in this deep cycle of abuse and everything and dysfunction, and they do not know how to get out of it, okay? It's not that some of them have not tried. They have sometimes even tried, but they cannot get out of this cycle, okay? It is very, very difficult for them to completely get out of this cycle, okay? So if you have a person that you're dealing with most of the times, and usually they're very close to you, okay, so maybe you care about them, you know, they're your family members and everything, and sometimes you see them repeatedly doing something over and over again. There's a recurring pattern of abuse, whether they're behaving or sometimes acting towards you, and you're actually trying to figure out, how can your own mother do this? How can your brother do this? Why should they do that? How could they? So you're asking yourself a lot of questions, and most of the times it's even very painful, because of all the questions that you're asking yourself as a victim of abuse. You cannot have the answers because you're asking somebody who is actually deaf. These individuals, they are deaf. I've told you guys, the narcissist is actually spiritually unplugged. So they're actually not connected to their higher self. They're not connected to the spirit. Okay, so there are individuals who are like walking zombies in a certain pattern which is very similar. So all of them are like doing the same thing. Okay, so all the narcissists that you know around you, your brother will do the same thing like your sister will do the same thing like your brother, the same thing like your wife, and that is how you are able, as an awakened empath, to discover what is this thing called, okay? On a very spiritual level, you're able to discover that this is a cycle, a spiritual pattern, whereby all of these individuals are reading from the same boss. It's the same software, so they're using the same program. in each and every one of them, regardless of which country, race, or origin, or whatever they're coming from, they are actually following the same pattern. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. The most scariest thing you'll ever come to realize and figure out is that almost 90% of the narcissists that you're dealing with, they're not aware. Now, as an awakened empath, what you really do in this situation, this is something that you see and you cannot unsee it, because when you have figured out what is narcissism and you understand what it is on a very deep spiritual level, you'll always know what to do when you meet them, okay? It's not like you go to see them around and call them out and say, you know, tell them what is going on or fight around with them. You are just normally simply go to swiftly walk away without actually realizing the reason as to why you have walked away. They may figure it out later, of course, like I did in the dysfunctional family unit. I walked away very quietly, swiftly, but of course later on they figured out that actually I understood and I knew who they really were, okay? So this is a kind of a protection mechanism that you do to protect yourself without having to get into trouble or without having actually sometimes to injure these kind of individuals. Because I've told you guys, we empaths, especially the super empaths, those individuals normally, they are able to crush the narcissists to the ground. Even that, most of the time, they don't choose to do it. So they usually walk away and just let them be, okay? So remember, like, ladies and gentlemen, for the ones of us, the survivors who know what is narcissistic abuse, it is very intense. It is very evil. It is unexplainable. It is unimaginable. It is something that many people, even if you explain to the people who think they really know what narcissism is, and they have not actually experienced narcissism, those people cannot comprehend these kind of individuals exist around us. There are many. They are everywhere. It is very dangerous. It is very life-threatening. In worst case scenarios, I've told you, narcissistic abuse can lead to a death. Whether it is actually the person that has killed an individual or unalived an individual, it can sometimes be a suicide whereby a person decides even to take their own life. This whole thing is real, so it is not something to be taken for granted, ladies and gentlemen. It is very serious, and we cannot take our lives for granted. So, of course, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I do love and appreciate your support. You guys can book a session with me if you want to. You may donate or support my channel if you want to. Everything you need, you will find it in the description below. And until then, I'll catch you guys in my next one. There's more signing out. Much love and blessings. Peace.